So, Commission, are you ready? Travis, are you ready? Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. I'd like to call the Tuesday, October 5th, 2021 meeting of the Moorhead Public Service Commission to order. The Moorhead Public Service Commission welcomes and encourages customer input on issues listed on the agenda or of general electric and utility interest. Customers wishing to address the commission for items that are not on the agenda, please fill out the request to speak form located at the back of the room and give it to the administrative assistant in attendance at the meeting prior to speaking. Customers wishing to address the commission regarding a specific agenda item other than the rate hearings will be given an opportunity during the discussion of that item. Each customer will be given 3 minutes to address the commission. We're here to listen. Any follow-up or feedback will be done by email on anything that cannot be resolved this evening. I entertain a motion to approve the agenda. I have a motion by Durand, seconded by Daly, to approve the agenda. Discussion? Seeing none. Paulson?
Aye.
Durand? McDougall?
Aye.
Daly? Thompson? Aye. Approve the consent agenda. I entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by McDougall, seconded by Paulson, to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Seeing none. Paulson?
Aye.
Durand?
Aye.
McDougall?
Aye.
Daly?
Aye.
Thompson? Aye. Any customers to be heard? Any recognitions?
Nothing at this time.
Okay. Old business. Any old business, anybody? Seeing none, we'll move on to reports. City Council, Mr. Hendrickson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A few short things. Last council meeting, we passed the preliminary budget, and last week, I apologize, I said it was the truth and taxation that doesn't come until the end. So we're kind of preparing for truth and taxation, so apologies for that. We received, excuse me, I'm getting my notes out here. We received a presentation of Onward Moorhead, City of Moorhead Comprehensive Plan updates, and it's nice to have a blueprint of where Moorhead is going. It was really well put together and really well presented, so this shows the roadmap of where Moorhead is business-wise, park-wise, that type of thing. If you want to read the report, it is in the city agenda for, I think it's the 27th of September. And sheep may safely graze in Moorhead now. We passed that resolution, just a little FYI, for Oakport. So we're going to have a herd of 40 sheep grazing in Moorhead. So take the kids, go out and see it. It'll start next year. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Public Service Commission.
Madam Chair. Thank you. Just wanted to update the commission. I attended the EDA meeting, and I'm the representative for MPS at the EDA. A lot of exciting things happening in Moorhead. We received a report on potential redevelopment of the Days Inn site off of Interstate 94. So certainly something I think we've all been looking to see some activity there. A lot of the meeting centered around an update from the EDC, as well as West Central Initiative. Certainly a lot of things happening. We also got an update on the comprehensive plan as well, as Mr. Hendrickson had mentioned, the council received too. So just a lot of exciting things related to growth and development within the city of Moorhead on the horizon here, and obviously impactful for the utility as well, and in expanding our services as well. So just general update, I suppose, on the EDA.
I understand that it's time, this is not exactly a report, but this is where it's going to go. It's time that we need to put together an ad hoc group to look at, say,
Human resources, labor
human resources
negotiations.
issue, right. So I'm going to ask if it pleases Commissioner Daley and Durand, if you would go ahead and serve on that. Appreciate that.
Yes.
I figured since you folks were on the budget, we'd split the goodwill and pass the torch that way, unless there's a reason that we shouldn't do this. I'd entertain a discussion, but otherwise, I think it's the way to go.
I think that's wise figuring, Madam Chair.
I suppose we should probably have a motion to do that. So I move that Commissioner Durand and Commissioner Daley form a subcommittee, or actually an ad hoc committee, to explore human resource questions and report back as such. Any seconds?
Second?
Motion by Thompson, seconded by Paulson, to appoint Durand and Daley. Roll call, sure. Paulson?
Aye.
McDougall?
Aye.
Durand?
Aye.
Daley?
Aye.
Thompson, aye. Okay, General Manager's report. Mr. Schmidt.
Pretty light here. I'm going to have Matt Marks come up. He's our project engineer. He's going to explain our annual generation verification test and what that is. Go ahead, Matt.
Matt Marks, project engineer. So we have our Centennial Generating Station, which has 5 diesel generators that was commissioned back in 2011. These generators are part of a reserved capacity agreement with Missouri River Energy, in which we receive a monthly credit in exchange for having those generators available should Missouri River need to call on us to run those generators. If you can remember back to February, we were called on to run those generators and ran them for approximately 80 to 90 hours consecutively during the widespread power supply issues in the around the country. As part of that agreement, once per year, Missouri River will have us run the generators for 1 hour to demonstrate that we can generate above 10,000 kilowatts. On this August 26th, 2021, we ran the generators, generated 10,146 kilowatts, so that meets the requirements. We'll then continue to run these once a quarter at the request of Missouri River, unless called to generate for any other reason. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Go ahead,
Madam
Mr.
Chair.
Paulson.
I guess the only question is if we met the requirements this year, but if there were to be a year we did not meet the requirements, what corrective actions would we need to take?
It hasn't come up yet that we have failed to meet that. I believe there are measures in the agreement for if there's some kind of damage or fault or failure in any of the equipment that we'd be required to repair that, or else the other option is to remove any one of those generators from the reserve capacity agreement. So if one generator went down and it was determined that it's not cost effective to make any repairs or replacement, we could continue with 4 or 3 or any number of those generators going forward. I don't know the specifics or timelines of any required repairs. I don't know if you're aware, Travis.
Yeah, they give you a certain amount of time to repair the equipment. They will remove a portion of that reserve capacity as well. So whatever our payment is that we would get on a monthly basis gets removed until it's repaired, or we just take it off the agreement. So we have the options to do that. We actually just approved that, if I remember right, 2020, we extended that agreement out.
Either the end of 2020 or earlier might have been earlier
Sure.
this year. I can't remember that we, extended the time frame on that agreement.
Roughly on a monthly basis, we get about $19,000 for having that available at all times. So it's a good asset to have in Moorhead and keeps the power on, especially during the polar vortex. So.
Yep.
Other than that, thank you, Matt. Other than that, it is Public Power Week. This is an annual thing that's hosted through APPA. Again, thank you to all the staff and crews and everybody else that is in Moorhead to make sure we have good, reliable, quality power and water. On top of that, it is our 125th anniversary this year, so 2021. So we've been providing water and electricity since 1896. So that is all I have.
Thank you. Accept report 1 on proposed 2022 budget.
I'll have Mark Moylan come up. He's our controller. He will present the report number 1 of the proposed 2022 budget, and I'll let Mark take it away.
All right, thank you, Travis. Good afternoon, Commissioners. As it stated, this is accept report number 1 on the budget process for 2022. Starting in July, staff, management, and I have been meeting to go over capital expenditure projects, capital plans for the next 10 years. We've also been obtaining key inputs from our power suppliers, which is a major portion of our costs and expenditures on an annual basis. We've also been looking at the transfer, making sure we are in compliance with the transfer agreements, and provided our projections to the city for 2022. And as the part of the next step between now and the rate hearing, which is scheduled to occur on October 19 meeting, Commissioners McDougall, Mr. Paulson, and I will be meeting with Travis Schmidt and other managers to go over what we are proposing for rate increases or no changes, as well as review the overall budget plan for the next 10 years. At this time, we are looking at an electric rate possible increase from between 0, which would be no change, up to about 2%, depending on the findings and discussion that we have tomorrow afternoon. And on the water side, we're looking at between 2% rate increase up to 4% rate increase. At this time, I'm open to any questions.
The water increase lower than projected or discussed in the past?
It's lower than it was 2 years ago. It's about in line with what we projected last year at
Okay.
this time when we were putting things together. We were running 6.66 for I think the previous 3 years. Last year we were down to 3.5, and we projected about 3.5 for the upcoming year, and we're about in line with that, between 2 to 4, and again, upper level would be 4.
Questions? Go ahead.
Thank you.
Commissioner Duran.
Thank you, Chair. So when customers when they ask what the increase is going to provide, what additional services or projects or infrastructure will that percentage take care of?
As part of the presentation on the 19th, we will be going over that in great detail. As indicated, the division managers and have met with Travis and myself to go over the long-term capital plans. There are a number of plans on both the electric and the water side that do require some maintenance and upkeep, as well as extensions, some new facilities. And so there's about 3 or 4 projects on each side that are pretty significant, as well as looking what's needed in the next 10 years, because we also want to get some funds built up for that to be able to handle whatever debt financing might be required.
Can you share what's maybe some of the highlights or maybe some of the exciting projects are?
Well, on the electric side, there's a master plan, and Travis might be able to provide a little bit more detail on that, into the technical terms of it. I just know the high level what they're called, but.
Sure. Yeah, so we just, was it last fall or early this year, we approved the electric master plan for MPS. And within that, we look over a 10-year time frame roughly to figure out what's needed, whether we need new transformers, new transmission line. It's more of the transmission generation piece of this, and substations as well. Along with that, then we are also working on a asset management plan for the distribution side of this as well too. So that's not ready yet. It's still being worked on with our consultant engineering firm, and hopefully we'll be bringing that forward to you either later this year or early 2022. So probably the biggest project in the next few years from the electric division is we have a notice to construct from WAPUS / Southwest Power Pool. That's roughly a $12 million project, if I remember right. And that'll be located at our DOE substation. They want to put some reactors in there. So we would have to pay for it, and then we would receive annual transmission revenue recapture, or ATRR, back for that over roughly a 10 to 11, maybe 12-year time frame. We get that back in refunds from WAPA / Southwest Power Pool. Other than that, we had, of course, damage to our transformer down there, so we're looking at how that's going to affect our reserves, and if we need to finance that as well too. We're still working with insurance on that to take care of that. So other than that, the other big projects would be any developments, any transformer replacement, any cable replacement that we do in town to boost up our reliability as well. From the water side, we're just coming off of a lot of major infrastructure and facility projects. We just finished the lime sludge dewatering facility, which we'll hear about in a little bit. Along with that, water main replacement has been an ongoing project for us, roughly a mile or so a year, maybe a little bit more. And a lot of those projects then coincide with the city rehab or replacement of city streets as well too. So we are trying to work in conjunction with the city of Moorhead on those, trying to be cost effective as well. There are some things coming up in the future as well. We need to redo the transmission line to the Buffalo Aquifer, and that is a large expenditure we got to look at, along with the completion of all the paintings and construction of the new water tower on the south side of Moorhead. So, those are the big projects coming up.
Any other questions? Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Okay, entertain a motion to accept the report.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion by Duran, seconded by Paulson, to accept report number 1 on proposed 2022 budget. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much for your hard work, and looking forward to hearing from you folks next meeting. Item number 9, tree trimming.
Yep, I'll have Matt Marks come up again. Matt handles our tree trimming process on an annual basis, and this is really just to clean up the trees around our electric lines for reliability reasons. Matt, go ahead.
Matt Marks, project engineer. So like Travis said, we, on an annual basis, will do tree trimming to clear back the branches that are growing near our transmission or distribution lines. We split the town into 2 different regions, kind of the north side and south side, and then alternate to hit one year, the other side the next year. That allows the trimmers to make 2-year cuts, so they don't have to cut the trees back too far, but it also kind of makes it manageable for budgeting-wise and labor-wise for the amount of trimming that needs to be done. We received one qualified bid from Cars Tree Service for $249,900. And we've worked with Cars Tree Service, have been working with them going back to 1998. The cost did increase from previous years. It was about 8.7% higher than we had estimated what that cost would be. Part of this is due to just the increase in the labor and labor costs and fuel costs for cars. One of the other factors is that typically as they are trimming, they will take the branches that they cut down, chip those in a wood chipper, In the past, they would take those to the Moorhead compost site. However, the development from, I believe it was last year, they're no longer accepting wood chips at that site due to fire safety concerns. So cars then needing to find another way to dispose of the branches and the wood chips also represents an additional cost to them. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to take those.
Sure. Thank you. And I don't know the background. Maybe this question is a silly question, but is this something that the city's forestry department could handle, or is there a reason why we separately consult a contractor for this?
It's a good question. For probably back in the early 90s, I don't know. For a while, we actually did the work ourselves with our line crews. We got out of it. Again, I'm not sure the background and the reasoning behind it, but we got out of it and had a contractor do it, probably just due to work constraints and work that we had to do ourselves. So it just limited us to hiring a contractor to do it. I actually do have a discussion with the Public Works Director this week to talk a little bit about this and see if there's some opportunities for efficiencies to be gained. So in the past, it hasn't been looked at. You know, again, city forestry, they take care of everything on the boulevards, not in the backyards. And so that's part of the reasoning that it probably hasn't been handled in the past, but we'll have a discussion and see where it goes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I suspect we need to make a motion to award the bid. So I'd entertain that.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by, was Daley, right? Daley, seconded by McDougal, to approve the bid, the award of the bid for tree trimming on the north side, or the north region. Discussion, any further discussion? Seeing none, Paulson,
Aye.
McDougal,
Aye.
Duran,
Aye.
Daley.
Aye.
Okay, I guess we've awarded a bid. Number 10, approved task order number 4.
Sure, I'll have Jake Long, he's our water distribution supervisor, come up. And like we just talked about, on an annual basis, we do water main replacement to get rid of all that lovely cast iron pipe we have in the ground. So Jake, I'll let you go ahead and talk about the task order and projects for next year.
All right. Jake Long, Water Distribution Supervisor. As we come close of yet of another construction season, MPS water staff has been planning future projects, and more specifically 2022 projects. The item in front of you is approval of task order number 4 with Apex Engineering for the design of MPS proposed 2022 water main replacement projects. MPS has started this process earlier as we can cut significant costs in the early design phase of these water main projects. Back in 2013, the commission approved the Water Main Asset Management Plan, or what we refer to as the WAMP. The WAMP provides guidance to determine adequate funding levels regarding the replacement of water main infrastructure. There are several key goals and purposes of the WAMP. Most importantly, to provide a safe and reliable water distribution system. It provides a working document to plan for future water main replacement projects, kind of how to strategically replace failing cast iron water main, also replace undersized water main to meet fire requirements. And the last goal, which is also extremely important, which we've touched on a little bit tonight, important in a cost perspective, is the ability of MPS to coordinate water main projects with City of Moorhead capital improvement projects. Over the past several months, MPS staff and city engineering have been working together on an extensive plan for future projects to perform projects to meet both the WAMP and the city's capital improvement projects plan. Just a little detail, this past year, MPS replaced approximately 5,600 feet of aging cast iron water main and using our GIS to analyze historical water main break data, 5,600 feet, let's call it a mile. We saw an average of 1 water main break per 80 feet of cast iron pipe. Next year, 2022 construction season, our proposed plan is to replace approximately 6,800 feet of cast iron. The proposed projects are listed in the agenda item on table 1. And similar to last year, on average, there's a break every 80 feet. A couple of individual projects, you break it down even more, and it's under 40 feet. And I think these numbers are important to put into perspective the condition of the cast iron water main that we're replacing. So in close, in 2018, the commission approved a master task order agreement between MPS and Apex Engineering Group to begin the design of these proposed projects for 2022. We request the commission approve task order number 4 with Apex Engineering Group to complete the design drawings associated with these projects. With that, I'll take any questions.
Questions for Jake?
Madam Chair,
Paulson?
thank you. Jake, thanks for this. I think my only question is, I mean, it's pretty staggering when we talk about documented breaks every 80 feet and in some cases 40 feet. And I got to believe there's also representative samples like that around town that haven't been replaced.
Yep.
And I think the question in my mind is, the cost to fix one of these breaks, I'm just guessing somewhere between $5,000 to $10,000 every
Yep.
time they occur. Is it worth looking at the potential to increase the funding to get more cast iron done? And there's obviously an offset on anticipated breakage cost on an annualized basis and the savings you get from replacing that cast iron. Do you think we're at adequate levels right now as far as what's allocated in the WAMP plan, which obviously was done many years ago, and so we've seen some more degradation I'd anticipate. What's your thoughts on that anyways?
I think it's okay for now. It's good. It's constantly changing. The one thing we saw this year was with the drought, it caused shifting in the pipes, and that increased water main breaks. And you can see that in the same thing in the winter. So it depends on our break graph model. It depends a little bit on the weather. We've seen since this has started and we've increased the water main replacement, our breaks have gone down, but also we've had favorable weather conditions to speak for the last, call it 3 years. So our breaks have also gone down because of that. Like I said, just this year with the drought, and I think it was July and maybe end of June, July, and beginning of August, our breaks really ramped up because that ground shifted, it put it right towards those old water mains, and that's where we saw it. So it's one of those things where I think we're at an okay level right now. We got to keep up with the 1 mile, at least a mile. And those costs just depend on the project, whether it's a coordinated project with the city, which we prefer to do, or if it's a project where you have to do because there's 20 to 40 breaks per foot, so
That makes sense. And some of these that aren't in coordination with city projects could be done with trenchless technologies as well, right? I mean, obviously you still have some level of impact on the streets, but
Yep.
So I don't know. I'm sure you got it handled. I guess I was just questioning because 1 documented break every 80 feet, and you're basically have Band-Aids all over some of these pipelines in town.
And we have, the majority of the breaks are on the cast iron. I mean, I'd say 99% of them. And we got approximately 25 miles of cast iron left. So once you get that replaced, you're going to see them go down. But the WAMP basically identifies replacing 1% of your system annually, because as the city grows, that number goes up, so the cost is also going to go up as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, another piece to that, Jake, working with city staff, they were able to flip-flop projects within the 5-year CIP of the city of Moorhead, and then MPS projects based on MPS needs and city needs. So we were able to work together to get the right projects done next year as well, too. We've talked about, and in the past have done more water main replacements, but again, if we're doing them outside the purview of what the city of Moorhead is doing for projects, there's a lot higher cost to that as well, too. As part of last year, we went, and like what Mark talked about earlier, we went from roughly 6% rate increases down to 3.5%. We'd have to increase rates again to go back up to that level of replacement.
Travis, are we using the drinking water revolving loan funds for these projects, or are these all just self-funded through the user rates?
A majority of them are self-funded through rates. We have used dwarf funding as well, too. Again, that's a low-interest loan, so it has to be repaid back. And where we're at, and we'll talk about it tomorrow, the financial situation of the water division is different than that of the electric division, so we got to be very conscientious about what we do.
Thanks.
Further questions? Okay, I'd entertain a motion.
So, second?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I have a motion from McDougall, seconded by Paulson, to approve the task order with Apex Engineering. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Daley?
Aye.
Duran?
Aye.
Paulson?
Aye.
McDougall?
Aye.
Aye. Now we get to talk about sludge. Item 11, contract hauling and disposal service for lime residuals.
I'm going to have Mark come up and talk about our favorite topic, sludge. Again, we're getting very close to having our lime byproduct dewatering facility operational, and I'll let Mark talk about that and the needs for this hauling and disposal service that we're asking for tonight. Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, Travis. Mark Pritchard, Water Plant Supervisor. As Travis stated, this is one of the final stages in the very long road that we've had over the past 5.5 years or so for the topic of lime sludge, everybody's favorite, right? So back in 2016, we were informed of a rule change by the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency that said that lime sludge could no longer be stored in storage ponds like what we have been doing historically due to a change to industrial solid waste as the byproduct designation. That meant that instead of using ponds, MPS would have to pivot to a more higher cost process to make sure that we could get our lime sludge dewatered and then either land applied or adequately disposed of in a landfill. So this is really the culmination of all that work in the past 5.5 years. We are in the final stages of getting our new facility up and running and in service. And this contract hauling services that we are looking for awarding bid tonight would allow us to either beneficially land apply or otherwise dispose of the materials as they're created. The disposal services for this project was advertised for bid on August 24th, and we did receive one qualified bid from Border States Paving of Fargo, North Dakota. MPS staff did call quite a bit to see if there was more interest from area trucking companies to see if we could get some more interest in the contract for services. However, it seems like whoever is closest to wherever the materials are produced typically gets the bid, and that's what we heard time and time again. So with that, we were comfortable with the one bid that we did receive. The pricing has quite a few different options available. The base price per cubic yard is $78.50. We did have many discussions internally prior to the ad for bid going out to see what kind of cost increases we may incur by having an additional truck and trailer ready to go for on-call shift service. We were able to get, based off of our 6,000 cubic yard average that we calculated for production, we were able to see that if we did need a second truck and trailer combination for around-the-clock service, it would add an additional $6 per cubic yard for this project. So that would make A little bit of an increase, we would go up to roughly $84.50 per cubic yard. But based off of conversation with the contractor, it sounds like we will not be needing that second truck on constant service unless we were really making a lot of material. So the base price of $78.50 correlates to approximately $471,000 annually based off of 6,000 cubic yards of production. That will vary based off of what the Red River brings us. Some months it may be higher, some months it may be lower as far as solids production rates go. So we really will have to see as we begin to run this facility what our actual usage will be. One of the nice conversations that we did have with the contractor after the bids were closed was their comfort level with potential change order reductions in the price as efficiencies are found. MPS staff are working pretty actively to find any and all cost savings mechanisms that we could use to lower the cost of this on an annual basis. We are looking at some local options for temporary storage, as well as a few other items that could potentially lower our costs significantly. But in the meantime, this ad for bid and this contract will get our feet under us, allow us to move some sludge, comply with MPCA regulations, and then as those efficiencies are found, we'll be able to discuss any potential change order reductions with the contractor.
Questions for? Go ahead.
So I see the the extensions, but remind me, once we have our facility, are we still paying for this sludge to be transported somewhere else, or is this going to be a year? I guess what I'm asking, is this going to be a yearly cost from now on, or is this just until that facility is up and running?
Good question. This would be an annual cost on an ongoing basis. That's why MPS staff are so interested in finding any and all cost savings measures, because this is a large expense for the water division. We are working on a couple different options that we think may provide some really good benefit to us and reduce the overall amount of trucking to say either Todd County, Minnesota, which is about 100 miles east of here, or the Jamestown, North Dakota area, where this material can be land applied for beneficial use for pH control of the soil and such. So it is an ongoing cost. The way that we structured this contract was that we wanted to have an initial 14-month contract to get us to end of December 2022. And then based off of the contract language, we would have an annual review with the contractor to see if we wanted to extend an additional year, which is what the one-year costs represent here in Table 1, or if we weren't satisfied with either the cost or the performance, we would have the option to rebid as well. So it doesn't lock us in per se to a 3-year term. It would be something that would be reviewed annually by staff to see if it was the best route forward, or if there was another more efficient route to move forward with, it would allow us the opportunity to do so.
You mentioned the 2 counties that this could possibly be applied to land. And I know I've asked this before. I've asked this probably every time sludge has been mentioned. Nearby, there aren't any applications, there aren't any uses in our local area that this can be put towards?
Good question. There's not a whole lot of availability within the Red River Valley. Most of the soil pH in the Red River Valley is either a 7.0, which is neutral, or a 7.1. Based off of the Minnesota Department of Ag's recommendations, they don't recommend any lime being added to soils above a 7.0 pH. They like to add it to pH soils of like 6.5, 6.7, something below 7.0. That's where you really get the benefit of adding this type of material. To find land that is suitable in that pH range, we have to travel anywhere from 50 to 100 miles, which is very unfortunate for us, but that's part of what we have to do to comply with this regulation. And as mentioned before, MPS staff is actively pursuing a variety of different options to make sure that we can be as economical with this process as we can be moving forward.
I can't imagine we're the only city that is dealing with this or dealing with sludge. There have to be other cities across even the country that deal with this and have a solution, a sustainable, affordable solution.
Yep. And
I
there-
appreciate that you're continuing to look for applications and
Thank you. As a side note to that point, there have been a variety of studies over the past 15 years or so that see whether or not the calcium carbonate content, the lime content that's usable in this type of material, if it can be used for things like cement additives, subgrade additives for road construction, whether or not we could use it for water main break repair, for packing in areas that are dug up to get to the mains. Depending on the surrounding soil matrix and a couple other factors like compactability and things, it's unclear whether or not we'd be able to use this material in that fashion in this area right now. But that's definitely some of the questions that we've been asking to see if there are routes to use it more locally. That would also help reduce our shipping costs to some of these lands that are, 50 to 100 miles away.
And so the cost of this, is it already a part of the budget, or is this going to be part of the water increase?
This is accounted for in the 2022 budget and onward moving forward on an annual basis. We did have an earmark for this even before we started constructing the dewatering facility, because we knew that contract hauling of some fashion would need to take place to help handle this material. It really depends on how close can you get your final point of either disposal or land application.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Paulson?
I'll just kind of add on to what Commissioner Durand was asking, because this is a tough one to stomach, right? $500,000 a year because of a state mandate. So I guess I don't understand how the state can call this an industrial waste, but then also allow land application. Because when it's in ponds, it's inert. Do you have any insight onto why the legislature or the MPCA may have made that change? And I guess the follow-up question is this something we need to make our representatives aware of so they can continue to have discussions at the state level about the huge cost related to dealing with a substance that, in my mind, is really not that not toxic, right? Not that big of an issue.
Yeah, good questions. To start off with the first answer, the reason for this rule change that came about at the end of 2015 was due to, from what I understand, a utility that was based along the Mississippi River that had their lime storage ponds right on the riverbank. And when a flood season came through, it washed away all the material in the ponds and caused quite a few issues downstream. And that was when the MPCA really looked at lime ponds in general across the state, regardless of location, and decided that they did not want to have any future ones built. If ponds were indeed necessary, they ended up having a lot of permitting requirements that would make it very difficult for the utility to maintain those permits long term. And we did initially look at the addition of more ponds at the beginning of this study back in 2016. And if we were to build more ponds, it would require regular dredging to comply with this rule. Over time, dredging of an existing pond was by far the most expensive option that we had in front of us for long-term mitigation of this material. So we ended up with that knowledge moving forward with the dewatering facility as our preferred route forward. It really does a nice job of making the most amount of volume of material able to be shipped per unit, if that makes sense. Because if we're taking it out of the pond, at best what you can get is maybe 30% solids, and that's a lot of water weight to be shipping with a contract hauling service. So that was really one of the main driving factors that made us move forward with this dewatering facility and the contract that we have tonight. As far as, let's see, what was the second part of the question?
Well, I just think now that we've got our solid costs in front of us of what this change is costing our ratepayers, and the absorbent cost not only of just the lime sludge project itself, but then the ongoing annual cost of contract hauling, it's a pretty staggering number for our utility, and we're a large utility. So to Commissioner Durand's point, there's got to be other smaller communities that are also, in the same boat. And, I just, these are the types of issues that I think you bring up to your representative and show them the issue that we have to deal with. I think the utility here is doing everything as cost effective as we can to deal with the state requirements, but it's just a large cost. And I, maybe that's something we do in conjunction with the city's lobbyists, or I don't know if MPS, we have our own lobbyists on contract, or kind of where you go with that discussion. But this is a very large number.
Good question. I can start, Mark, and you can add in. To be honest with you, I'm not, again, like Mark said, the MPCA kind of made the change based on what happened. And really, that's kind of where we got put into this situation. So, I don't know, was it a fast turnaround or change in the rulings, or how they wanted to handle the material, Mark?
It was about an 8-month or 10-month review process. MPS didn't get the exact details on when they actually started the review relative to when they put the ruling forward for their revision. It was definitely inopportune timing from our utilities perspective, because at the time that the rule was changed, we were actually actively writing an RFP to build 4 more ponds that would have given us approximately 12 years of storage. So it really immediately put us between a very large rock and a very hard place. So this was again, the most efficient option that we could see going forward, that didn't have permitting issues going forward that were very similar to private landfills, that we kind of wanted to stay away from, because it was a lot of extra permitting and regulatory paperwork that was really outside the scope of the utility. So that was one of the main reasons. The other was, again, cost due to the shipping and trucking costs of a less dewatered sludge versus something that could come out of this facility. Again, to go back to the conversation earlier about finding efficiencies, one of the main things that we found that area private companies do is they stockpile this material very close to their facility, and they advertise it to local farmers to come on site and pick it up for free. Basically what they do is they have a small service fee to load the truck, whatever size it may be, and then the farmer can haul it away for free. So that's one of the options that we are actively pursuing to make sure that we can be, again, as economic as we can be with this material moving forward.
Again, MPCA made the ruling. It wasn't a state legislature approval, if I remember right. So it wasn't a whole lot of lobbying you could do against it. So, we can communicate that with whether it's the city of Moorhead's lobbyists or MMUA or somebody else in the state of Minnesota, that, this is going to continue to impact all water utilities in Minnesota.
Yeah, I think we need to look at that as an option going forward.
Hendrickson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, first of all, MPCA should ask these smaller cities. I don't understand, for one thing. Do you know what the other smaller cities are doing? Like East
Yes.
Grand Forks and,
Yeah, we did talk with some area utilities to the north that are smaller in size than MPS, and they actually went the route of building more storage ponds, with the idea not necessarily to kick the can down the road, but that was the only option within their budget range that they could do. There's been a lot of talk even at the AWWA conference in Duluth that I attended at the beginning part of September about potential review of this rule. It's really tough to say what that review will entail, but there are various agencies that are very interested in giving their 2 cents now that this new rule has been in place for a few years. What that means is, there's a potential for a lobbying initiative if that review takes place the way, it's sounding like it might. But that's something we definitely need to look more into to see if there is an opportunity to provide our thoughts, and the fact that the price, depending on your location, could be substantially higher than an area closer to Minneapolis or St. Paul, where they're paying roughly 1/4 the cost.
And you said, like the haulers will stockpile it, and then maybe private farmers can come and, get that sludge. Does that fall within state guidelines? Or are you talking North Dakota, Minnesota?
Good question. It does fall within the Minnesota regulatory guidelines to stockpile for up to 3 years. After that 3-year time frame is up, the rule states that material needs to be either permanently disposed of in a landfill or beneficially applied via land application on a suitable pH range soil. Throughout this year and all the way back to 2019, MPS staff have actively engaged with the Clay County landfill personnel, and there really wasn't any interest in this material. It sounds like they have plenty of alternative daily cover, and they didn't really want to have any more. That conversation is by no means finished, but they're very hesitant to take the material because of the volume and the fact that they don't necessarily need it, because they are using other materials from, for example, construction soil and clays from area construction projects. They get wood chippings from Lund Boat Productions over to the east. So they get a lot of material that they can use as fill, and they don't necessarily want any more. So that conversation is ongoing, but it's unclear where that will lead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
Mark, can I ask, is it allowable to haul it obviously into North Dakota? And, you know, does the MPCA not have authority as to the disposal of the product once you're in North Dakota? The reason I'm asking is, for example, the city of West Fargo is decommissioning their lagoons, and they're looking for approximately 500,000 cubic yards of fill to fill in their old sewage wastewater lagoons. Perhaps a cheaper option might be to just haul it out there and dump it in, and it would somewhat be a beneficial use for the city of West Fargo, and it may reduce our costs as well. But I don't know how the MPCA looks at, you know, cradle to grave type of documentation of where it goes and how it gets applied. But
Yeah, good question. The MPCA doesn't have jurisdiction on the material once it crosses state boundaries. An entity in North Dakota kind of takes up the torch at that point in time. Up till this point, MPS staff wasn't aware of West Fargo's goings on with those decommissioned lagoons, so that could definitely be an option for using a significant amount of this material. That would substantially decrease cost because of the proximity to the water plant. So that's definitely something that we'll follow up on to see if it's a viable option for us.
okay, excellent.
Any other questions for Mark? Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by McDougal, seconded by Daley, to award the bid for lime residual disposal. Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none. Paulson,
Yes.
McDougal,
Aye.
Daley,
Yes.
Durand,
Aye.
Thompson, aye. Okay, item number 12, general manager's performance evaluation. On September 14th, 2021, the commission held a closed meeting to evaluate the performance of general manager Travis Schmidt. In accordance with governing law, at this commission meeting, which is the next possible open commission meeting following the previously mentioned closed session, MPS is required to summarize the conclusions of the evaluation of the performance of General Manager Schmidt reached by the commission at the September 14th, 2021 closed meeting. Our conclusions are: General Manager Schmidt did not request that such meeting be open to the public. As a result, the evaluation of General Manager Schmidt's performance took place in a closed meeting as provided under the Minnesota Open Meeting Law. As chairperson of the Moorhead Public Service Commission of the City of Moorhead, I will now provide a summary of the conclusions reached by the commission from the September 14th, 2021 evaluation. General Manager Schmidt has met and exceeded expectations as a general manager in communication with the commission, preparation for meetings, responding to ideas, suggestions, and criticism with recommendation. General Manager Schmidt also maintains poise and emotional stability and has a high standard of ethics, honesty, and integrity in all relationships, internal and external, to Moorhead Public Service. General Manager Schmidt needs improvement as general manager in visionary guidance, delegating, and empowering MPS staff, along with keeping current with industry trends and innovation, including providing personal development opportunities for MPS staff, MPS Commission, and the general manager. The commission appreciates General Manager Schmidt's service and dedication to and leadership for MPS, looks forward to continuing its employment relationship with General Manager Schmidt, and to work towards the betterment of MPS and the Moorhead community. A salary increase is warranted based on General Manager Schmidt's performance evaluation. So I'd like a motion to approve the summary of the conclusion of the performance evaluation of General Manager.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Duran and seconded by Daley to approve the summary of the conclusions of performance evaluation of the general manager. Any discussion? Seeing none. McDougall?
Aye.
Paulson?
Aye.
Daley?
Aye.
Duran?
Aye.
Thompson? Aye. Item 12B is to approve compensation for the general manager. Mr. Borman, were you prepared to speak to that question? Thank you.
Gary Borman, Accountant HR Coordinator. With the compensation was given to you earlier, there was a few options that you could decide on what to do. Basically, he's in a step program. You can either allow one step, two step. The other thing is a waiver, salary waiver above the governor's salary cap. I need an approval of what step you want him to be at, and also I need a separate approval for the waiver to be able to move forward. With that, any questions on anything that I had sent you earlier?
I'd be interested in exploring the waiver.
What's that now?
The waiver? Could
To
you
move
talk a
forward,
little bit?
okay, the waiver is to go above the governor's salary cap, which right now is 110% of the governor's salary. With the waiver, the state of Minnesota will review it, and you can get an additional 15% above that. That would be salary to Travis, other than going into that comp bank.
Right. Mr. Durand?
Thank you, Chair. Jerry, do we have an idea of how likely it would be that we would be approved for that waiver?
I had some discussion with some other utilities, and it seems like it's a positive thing. And another discussion is if more utilities do it, that they may just waive that cap for utilities.
Yeah, I would favor that, pursuing the waiver.
Okay. I just need you as a commission to approve it.
I'll make that motion.
I would second that.
Okay. Any further discussion before we, sorry, motion by Durand, seconded by Daley to approve the compensation for the general manager. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Is there anything else that we need to consider before we,
I think right now you're just approving the waiver part of it.
right?
There's also, you need to approve if you want to do any steps.
Steps, correct. So this, right now,
Okay.
we're doing the waiver.
Yep.
Make that clear. Daley?
Yes.
Durand?
Yes.
Thompson, yes. Paulson?
Yes.
McDougall?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to pursue that waiver. Okay, now we entertain the idea of a step increase. We have status quo, one step, two step. What are your thoughts?
I guess initially what I'm thinking is a one step right now would be congruent with normal.
Go ahead.
Quick question. Did we have recommendations from Flaherty and Hood?
This is something that he doesn't give recommendations for because it's up to you as a commission to decide. One thing I will add is in the contract, there was a 6-month review and a 1-year review. This is actually combining both of those reviews together. That's why it's the option of a 2-step. Because usually at the 6-month review, there could have been a 1-step. At the year, there could have been another. Don't need to do that, but that's just what's out there.
So he had essentially an 18-month review.
Correct.
Yes.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Daley.
I like the 2-step idea. I think Travis has shown some excellent leadership through some, I hate the word unprecedented times, but I think that he has gone above and beyond a number of times. And since it has been 18 months already, I'm comfortable with 2 steps.
Well, technically, it's only a year. There's a 6-month and then another 6-month that makes a year. So it's not a 18-month.
Oh, it's not?
Yeah.
He has.
It just seems longer?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait a
okay.
minute. Yeah.
Probably because he was temporary for a while or interim.
Right. Right.
But yeah,
That's
it's
why it
probably been
seems longer.
18
That's
months
right,
since
that's
he's
why
been
it
the
seems
general
like
manager.
That's
yeah.
what I was thinking of,
Yep.
18 months since that point. Any other weigh-in on this issue? So we need to entertain a motion. Somebody needs to put something out on the table.
I would move that we give the general manager 2 steps.
Second.
Okay? I have a motion by Daley, seconded by Paulson, to add 2 steps to the contract. Further discussion. Mr. Hendrickson.
I just want to say quickly that I forgot to put my 2 cents in earlier, but the way the city and the utility have been working the last 2 or 3 years, it's just night and day from when I first started. So, and I think Travis has a big part with that, and I think our new city manager Molly has a good part with that too. So it's really a good working relationship from what I've seen. So yeah, I just want to congratulate Travis on a good job. Thanks. Sorry, I meant to ring in earlier.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. We've done discussion. Roll call. Daley?
Yes.
Duran?
Yes.
Thompson, yes. Paulson?
Yes.
McDougal?
Yes.
Okay, it's unanimous. So we've set that at 2 steps. No closed meeting today, correct?
Correct.
And upcoming meetings will be on the 19th, which is the rate hearing, so that's important. And I understand you folks are meeting this next week. Thank you, Jerry. This week to hammer those details out. Is that correct? Okay. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn if there's nothing else.
Chair.
Oh, yes?
One more thing I forgot to add to my GM report. We are currently getting votes for the Southside Water Tower artwork. So if you go onto the MPS website or the City of Moorhead's website, you can find the link and go ahead and vote for that. I think as of this morning, I think we were in 2nd place, so every vote counts.
Yeah.
You only vote once?
Yes, you can only vote once.
Well, that's per email address, right?
I like your thinking.
Vote early and vote often.
That's like mildly illegal. Not advocating, just asking. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for coming.